Devotion 2 from Devotions upon Emergent Occasions. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by David Barnes. Devotions upon Emergent Occasions by John Donne. Devotion 2. Post actio Lysa. The strength and the function of the senses and other faculties change and fail. Meditation. The heavens are not the less constant because they move continually, one and the same way. The earth is not the more constant because it lies still continually, because continually it changes and melts in all the parts thereof. Man, who is the noblest part of the earth, melts so away as if he were a statue, not of earth, but of snow. We see his own envy melts him. He grows lean with that. He will say another's beauty melts him. But he feels that a fever doth not melt him like snow, but pour him out like lead, like iron, like brass melted in a furnace. It doth not only melt him, but calcine him, reduce him to atoms and to ashes, not to water, but to lime. And how quickly! Sooner than thou canst receive an answer, sooner than thou canst conceive the question. Earth is the centre of my body, heaven is the centre of my soul. These two are the natural places of these two. But those go not to these two in an equal pace. My body falls down without pushing. My soul does not go up without pulling. Ascension is my soul's pace and measure, but precipitation my body's. And even angels whose home is heaven, and who are winged too, yet had a ladder to go to heaven by steps. The sun which goes so many miles in a minute, the stars of the firmament, which go so very many more, go not so fast as my body to the earth. In the same instant that I feel the first attempt of the disease, I feel the victory. In the twinkling of an eye I can scarce see. Instantly the taste is insipid and fatuous. Instantly the appetite is dull and desireless. Instantly the knees are sinking and strengthless, and in an instant sleep, which is the picture, the copy of death, is taken away, that the original, death itself, may succeed, and that so I might have death to the life. It was part of Adam's punishment. In the sweat of thy brows thou shalt eat thy bread. It is multiplied to me. I have earned bread in the sweat of my brows, in the labour of my calling, and I have it. And I sweat again and again from the brow to the sole of the foot, but I eat no bread, I taste no sustenance. Miserable distribution of mankind, where one half lacks meat, and the other stomach. Expostulation. David professes himself a dead dog to his king Saul, 1 Samuel 24 verse 15, and so doth Mephibosheth to his king David, 2 Samuel 9 verse 8. And yet David speaks to Saul, and Mephibosheth to David. No man is so little in respect of the greatest man as the greatest in respect of God. For here, in that, we have not so much as a measure to try it by. Proportion is no measure for infinity. He that hath no more of this world but a grave, he that hath his grave but lent him till a better man or another man must be buried in the same grave, he that hath no grave but a dunghill, he that hath no more earth but that which he carries, but that which he is, he that hath not that earth which he is, but even in that is another's slave, hath as much proportion to God, as if all David's worthies, and all the world's monarchs, and all imagination's giants, were kneaded and incorporated into one, and as though that one were the survivor of all the sons of men, to whom God had given the world. And therefore, how little soever I be, as God calls things that are not as though they were, I, who am as though I were not, may call upon God and say, my God, why comes thine anger so fast upon me? Why dost thou melt me, scatter me, pour me like water upon the ground so instantly? Thou stayedst for the first world, in Noah's time, 120 years. Thou stayedst for a rebellious generation in the wilderness 40 years. Wilt thou stay no minute for me? Wilt thou make thy process and thy decree, thy citation and thy judgment but one act? Thy summons, thy battle, thy victory, thy triumph, all but one act? And lead me captive, nay, deliver me captive to death, as soon as thou declarest me to be enemy, and so cut me off, even with the drawing of thy sword out of the scabbard, and for that question, how long was he sick, leave no other answer, but that the hand of death pressed upon him from the first minute. My God, thou wast not wont to come in whirlwinds, but in soft and gentle air. Thy first breath breathed a soul into me, and shall thy breath now blow it out? Thy breath in the congregation, thy word in the church, breathes communion and consolation here, and consummation hereafter. Shall thy breath in this chamber breathe dissolution and destruction, divorce and separation? Surely it is not thou, it is not thy hand. The devouring sword, the consuming fire, the winds from the wilderness, the diseases of the body, all that afflicted Job, were from the hands of Satan. It is not thou. It is thou, my God, who hast led me so continually with thy hand, from the hand of my nurse, as that I know thou wilt not correct me, but with thine own hand. My parents would not give me over to a servant's correction, nor my God to Satan's. I am fallen into the hands of God with David, and with David I see that his mercies are great. 2 Samuel 24 verse 14. For by that mercy I consider in my present state not the haste and the dispatch of the disease in dissolving this body, so much as the much more haste and dispatch which my God shall use in recollecting and reuniting this dust again at the resurrection. Then I shall hear his angels proclaim the Surgite Mortui, Rise, ye dead. Though I be dead, I shall hear the voice. The sounding of the voice and the working of the voice shall be all one, and all shall rise there in a less minute than any one dies here. Prayer. O most gracious God, who pursuest and perfectest thine own purposes, and dost not only remember me by the first accesses of this sickness that I must die, but inform me by this further proceeding therein that I may die now, who hast not only waked me with the first, but called me up by casting me further down, and clothed me with thyself by stripping me of myself, and by dulling my bodily senses to the meats and eases of this world, hast whet and sharpened my spiritual senses to the apprehension of thee. By what steps and degrees soever it shall please thee to go in the dissolution of this body, hasten, O Lord, that pace, and multiply, O my God, those degrees, in the exaltation of my soul toward thee now, and to thee then. My taste is not gone away, but gone up to sit at David's table, to taste and see that the Lord is good. Psalm 34, verse 8. My stomach is not gone, but gone up, so far upwards toward the supper of the Lamb with thy saints in heaven, as to the table, to the communion of thy saints here on earth. My knees are weak, but weak therefore that I should easily fall to and fix myself long upon my devotions to thee. A sound heart is the life of the flesh. Proverbs 14, verse 30. And a heart visited by thee, and directed by thee, by that visitation is a sound heart. There is no soundness in my flesh because of thine anger. Psalm 38, verse 3. Interpret thine own work, and call this sickness correction, and not anger, and there is soundness in my flesh. There is no rest in my bones because of my sin. Psalm 38, verse 3. Transfer my sins with which thou art so displeased upon him with whom thou art so well pleased, Christ Jesus, and there will be rest in my bones. And O my God, who madest thyself a light in a bush, in the midst of these brambles and thorns of a sharp sickness, appear unto me, so that I may see thee, and know thee to be my God, applying thyself to me, even in these sharp and thorny passages. Do this, O Lord, for his sake, who was not the less the King of heaven, for thy suffering him to be crowned with thorns in this world. End of Devotion 2.